G'day, National Youth Services beneficiaries, regional performance centers, and hub head coaches. Welcome to Cricket South Africa's Introduction to Umpiring course, brought to you by Cricket South Africa's umpire trainers. My name is Tom Mokorosi. Along with my colleague Abdullah Steenkamp, we will be presenting to you today, next week, Tuesday, 4 August, and the following Tuesday, 11 August, the slides that I have sent to you all on the NYS Umpires channel. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please, Abdullah will put the link into the chat box shortly, and you are all encouraged to join and follow that channel so that all information, all course material, all logistics for the lectures and the hub visits will be posted on that channel. You are free to distribute it to all your colleagues in the hubs, but if everyone is on there, then that will be the easiest source of information for all of you. I'm quickly going to go through the meeting protocols, which are on the screen. All of your microphones and cameras are deactivated during our presentation. I will present for about 1 hour and 5 minutes. Then we shall take a 10 to 15 minute break. Then Abdullah will also present for about 1 hour and 5 minutes. And then we'll have about 10 to 15 minutes at the end of the lecture for questions and answers from the floor. While we present, you are welcome to type any questions you might have into the chat box. That will be answered at the end of the lecture. So you will know that the content that we are busy displaying will be available to you to ask any questions. So please keep the questions specific to the presentation so that we don't run over time. If at the end of our third lecture you have a question that hasn't been answered, then you can ask any question related to cricket umpiring for everyone to hear the answer of. If you don't get to ask your question live, please post it into the chat box and we will make sure that we answer it. All the lectures are being recorded and will be posted on our WhatsApp channel. They will be on YouTube. You can watch those lectures recordings in your own time, so that if you miss anything from the live lecture, or if you're not able to attend a live lecture, you can catch up on it before we go on to the next lecture. Important to keep up to date with us because the lectures are 2.5 hours long. If you wait until after all 3 lectures to try and watch them all on YouTube, that will be a lot of lectures to go through before the exam. Formal introductions. As mentioned, my name is Tom Mokorosi. I am the training coordinator of Western Province Cricket Umpires Association. I'm also an International Cricket Council Umpire Master Educator for Africa. On Thursday, I'll be going to Kigali, Rwanda to present a ICC Level 1 Umpire Tutors course over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Don't worry, I will be back in time for our lecture next week, Tuesday, same time, same Microsoft Teams meeting link. My colleague and co-presenter is Abdullah Steenkamp, who is the head of training of Western Province Cricket Umpires Association. Last year, he was Cricket South Africa's Umpire of the Year. So I hope you enjoy the lectures with us. Please, let's keep it interactive and ask as many questions as you like. We will do our best to answer the questions during the question and answer session at the end of each lecture. Just the timetable that we'll be following, bottom left of this poster. Tuesday, 28th July is our first lecture. Second lecture, 4th of August. Third lecture, 11th of August. And all of them are at the same time, 1 p.m. until 3:30 p.m. A quick trivia question for any of you who are interested in umpires. Do you know the two umpires who are pictured in this poster? On the left and on the right, they are both Cricket South Africa international panel umpires. And this picture was taken on the T20 international debut of the umpire on the right. So if you know their names, please type your answer into the chat box, just so we know that you are all able to type into the chat box, and you will be able to ask any questions while we present in the chat box. So please fire away with your answers to my first quiz question. Who are the umpires pictured in our course poster? Once we are done with the 3 lectures, we will have an online exam. The online exam is 35 true or false questions, and you can do or attempt the exam anytime in the comfort of your own home, office, school, or at your hub or RPC, 24 hours a day. And it's an open book exam, so you can have these slides at your disposal, or you can have the Laws of Cricket PDF at your disposal. And after this lecture, I will post those laws PDF on our WhatsApp channel. The exam, you would have to log in using the email address that you registered with. You will be sent an email from Umpires Universe, who will send you a username, which is your email address, and they will send you a password. And in lecture number 3, I will go through a click-by-click demonstration of how to log into Umpires Universe and to start your exam. So don't worry about it now. It's not complicated, but we will go into further details of the exam in the last part of lecture number 3. So the exam window period starts on Wednesday, the 12th of August, and you will have up until Sunday, the 16th of August to attempt the exam on your own. In total, you have up to 5 attempts to get to the pass mark of 80%. If you do not pass in your first attempt, second attempt, and third attempt, please do not use any more attempts to try and pass the exam. Why? Because from Monday, the 17th of August, myself, Abdullah, and a whole host of Cricket South Africa accredited umpire trainers from around the country will be visiting all Cricket South Africa hubs and regional performance centers to help any of you who have not yet passed the exam to get over the line. Okay, so please only use a maximum of your 3 out of your 5 attempts, so that when we come to the hubs and the RPCs from the 17th of August onwards, all the way until the 12th of September, so it's a long time that we're going to take to visit all the hubs. There are more than 70 hubs to visit. Just be patient. We will help you to use your 4th and maybe your 5th attempt to pass the Cricket South Africa Introduction to Umpiring exam. But from Wednesday the 12th until Sunday the 16th of August, you can attempt the exam yourself up to 3 times. Hopefully you get your 80% pass mark. If not, we'll come to your rescue from Monday the 17th of August onwards. So that's the timetable. That's how it's going to work. That's how we're going to get all 1,000 of you NYS Phase 5 beneficiaries over the line, and you're going to get yourself an introduction to umpiring certificate. What can you do with that certificate? Once you have passed your exam, the certificate will be emailed directly to you and will also be on display on the website as soon as you pass. And that certificate allows you to umpire as a strikers end umpire for your hub matches. Okay, your hub head coaches will make use of those of you who pass the intro to umpiring course exam. They will have you umpiring hub matches at strikers end. What does strikers end mean? We will come into that. That is, there are 2 different umpires on the field at any given point in time. One is the bowler's end umpire, one is the striker's end umpire. And so the striker's end umpire doesn't have as much work to do as the bowler's end umpire. So that is why when you start off with your intro certificate, you will only umpire at the striker's end. Some people like to call it the square leg umpire. When we do our level 1 course in October, and once you pass your level 1 course in October, then you will be able and allowed to umpire both at the bowler's end and at the striker's end, and umpire the full game as a fully qualified umpire. So those are the steps that we are going to be taking you through over the next few months. And it all starts today with Cricket South Africa's Introduction to Umpiring course, lecture number 1. Before we go into the course material for today, I want to play a video for you, which hopefully will inspire you to become an umpire and take your umpiring as far as you possibly can. Let's watch the video together. Just a second while I get sound on this video.
Hit the gym in the morning before breakfast, then have a long breakfast with the colleagues. I mean, basically, it's a relaxed day. Number 1 priority is to have.
Gonna stop sharing. Hold on for me. And I'm going to reshare with sound.
Members, your on-field partner, 3rd umpire, 4th umpire. Hit the gym in the morning before breakfast, then have a long breakfast with the colleagues. I mean, basically, it's a relaxed day. Number 1 priority is to have a good rapport with all the team members, your on-field partner, 3rd umpire, 4th umpire, coaches, match referee. So I think it's a team effort. If we want to have a successful game, it always has to be a team effort. It cannot be individual brilliance. Just like to open my stuff, go to the ground, choose our ends.
I'm a taller, so longest wicket is my, and he's a short guy, so short one his. So whichever side it comes, it means I'm there and he will be there. We don't use coin.
Then we have a small casual chat with the ground staff if any weather is expected. Have a word with the 4th umpire if he has anything for us. And then just come back again, get ready, mic up, and then be in the zone before the game.
Well, a little bit of history this evening here in Antigua, because it's the very first time in T20 internationals that Namibia and Australia are playing off against each other. I've got the captains out with me at the moment and our match referee as well, Jessica Streeter. Thank you for joining us. Mitch, give us your best style. Tails is the call. Heads it is. Australia wins. That's handy. What are you going to do and why?
I'm going to bowl first.
If we have butterflies, it means we are ready for the game. But if you don't, it means we are not normal.
Happy to go. Let's see what happens.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Yes.
You're walking with us, are you? Yeah. You're in the front and we'll be at the back.
Charlie, how are you? Good to see you.
Hey, umpires, off you go, please.
Have a good game, guys.
Cheers. Thanks, Mark.
Ready to go then. Match 24.
Outside, you think?
Fair delivery.
No, he didn't hit it. I'm worried about outside, but I'm happy to go with you. I can't tell.
10 seconds.
Have a look if you want.
And why not with 4 down? They're going to go upstairs, Australia.
Original decision on field is not out. I've checked the bowler's feet. It's a fair delivery. Let's start with front run, please. No gloves or bat involved. Let's go to ball tracking when ready, please. Original decision is not out. Pitching outside off, impact outside off, and impact over 3 meters. Stay with the original not out decision. Stand by.
Acton Raseri, the TV umpire, just confirming that Menon got it right on field.
Nice! What a professional performance by Australia.
It's fantastic. Excellent.
The team is allowed to roll the pitch between innings for a maximum of 7 minutes. So I've got to just monitor that and check the timing and see that the pitch is in the same condition as it was before the game.
And it's a wonderful swing of the bat all the way. That is a comprehensive win to Australia by 9 wickets in the 6th over.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Well done, Langton.
Well done, Lang.
Well done.
Hello.
Good finish, early finish.
Very happy.
Well, I think just quite simply, you did what you needed to do tonight. I thought communication between the two of you was really good. One of those games, you were very professional on field, and you come out of it well.
Umpiring for me is a passion, and now it becomes a profession. We are lucky to see the world, whole world. This is fabulous, actually.
This is fabulous, actually. Indeed it is. And this is the pinnacle of umpiring. This is as far as you can get. That video was from the ICC T20 World Cup in 2024, which was held in the United States and some Caribbean countries in the West Indies. How do you get to that level? Well, unfortunately, it's not that easy. Only 12 umpires are on the International Cricket Council's elite panel of umpires. Them 12 plus another 8 umpire at World Cups, making it 20 umpires at that particular World Cup. In the 2026 ICC T20 World Cup in India and Sri Lanka, there were 24 umpires. So only the best 24 umpires in the world get to umpire in men's World Cups. How do you get there? You need to start here and now by involving yourself in the course, asking questions if you don't understand. Once you've got your certificate, you ask your hub head coach or your RPC head coach to appoint you to a match as a striker's end umpire or a square leg umpire. And then in October, when we do level 1, you do level 1, you pass level 1, then you can start umpiring both bowler's end umpire and square leg umpire for your hub matches. Then while you're umpiring for your hub matches, the hub head coaches will identify the top performing umpires in your hub, and they will alert the Umpires Association in your region that Umpire X and Umpire Y are good enough to join the Umpires Association, then you will be invited to join that Umpires Association and you will start umpiring club cricket in your province. From there, the sky is the limit. I started umpiring club cricket in 2007, went through all Cricket South Africa age group tournaments all the way through to 2016 when I was invited by Cricket South Africa to write my level 4 exam. I passed my level 4 exam in the winter of 2016, and then in November 2016 I umpired Southwestern Districts versus KZN Inland at the Pietermaritzburg Oval. That was my first class debut. It was a 3-day match. And since then, I've been umpiring Cricket South Africa Division 2 and Division 1 competitions. And since 2022 or 2023, I've been umpiring SA20. I've also umpired women's international matches in South Africa. I haven't yet got to men's international matches. It just goes to show that not everybody can make it to the highest level, but as long as you're committed, hardworking, and you love the game of cricket, you can go very far with your umpiring. So let's go into the course content for today. And we're going to start with what's called the spirit of cricket. What is the spirit of cricket? The law book tells us that cricket owes much of its appeal and enjoyment to the fact that it should be played not only according to the laws of cricket, but also within the spirit of cricket. The major responsibility for ensuring fair play rests with captains, but extends to all players, umpires, and especially in junior matches, it extends to teachers, coaches, and parents. So what does the spirit of cricket expect from us? Respect is central to the spirit of cricket. The law book tells players to respect their captains, their teammates, their opponents, and the authority of the umpires. Players must play hard, but play fair and accept the umpire's decision. Now let's watch a video where a few current and former international players are asked what they feel is the spirit of cricket and how it applies to the way that they play the game on the field.
Well, the spirit of cricket is about going out there, giving your all 100%, fighting against the opposition, but doing it with a smile on your face and doing it with enormous respect for the beautiful game of cricket.
Bowled him. Middle stump.
The way you conduct yourself on and off the field, it's about respecting the opposition, respecting the game.
You embracing the game, yes, but also how you play the game, what example you are for young kids growing up.
Big shot, and he's gone as well.
I think the spirit of cricket is about respecting the traditions of what's been before us and those who have been before us as well. And as cricketers, we've got a duty to make sure we uphold those.
You know, you let your skills go to work when you play, but you treat each other and the game itself, which has been around a lot longer than us, with respect, and you hope that you leave it in a better place than what you started with.
Now, playing it hard, playing it fair, and you're representing your country, and we're very, very privileged. You should cherish that.
It's obviously competitive, no professional international sport isn't, and you would never want to lose that competitiveness from any of the players because that's what makes the game as good as it is. But it's obviously a line in terms of doing it the right way and doing it the wrong way, and I think it's one of the important things when trying to, I guess, inspire people to play the sport.
Yeah, just conducting yourself in a way that probably your parents and your grandparents would want you to. I think that's probably the easiest way to describe it.
Obviously, after what happened in South Africa, you know, I know those guys really well, and I know that they're not proud of that, and they made a mistake. And unfortunately, that's something they're going to have to live with, because at the end of the day, he made a mistake, but he's still a very good person.
Everybody will make a mistake at some point in their career, but it's about repairing those mistakes in future games and learning from your mistakes.
Yeah, there's no doubt about still being competitive and still wanting to win, but yeah, certainly you can win and lose in the right manner.
But I think out of that, you know, we've thought a lot about just respecting the game and everything around the game, and just putting the focus back on just playing the game.
This was a really closely fought semi-final, kind of went down to the wire, and you obviously kind of have a moment of celebration, but then your thought quite quickly turns to the opposition. It's obviously not something you think out or anything like that, it just kind of seemed like the right thing to do at that time.
We lost a test match against England, which was a cracking test match, I thought. Played between two very, very good cricket teams, playing aggressively but playing in the right spirit. And after that test match, we sat in the English dressing room, as the losers do. They go through to the winners' dressing room and shared a beer with them. And for me, it was just encapsulated everything which was good about the game.
I remember the Ashes Test match in 2005.
For me, the most iconic one is the 2005 Ashes, when Freddie Flintoff obviously consoled Brett Lee.
When he was sitting down and when Flintoff went to him and shake his hand, I think that's the spirit of cricket for me.
Yeah, that for me is the iconic moment. Kind of the result obviously went England's way, but he took the time to console a bloke that had put in a hell of a performance.
It'll be something like, I want to tell you, I've got great admiration for you and the way you guys played this match.
So, sure, you know, you respect for the opposition. End of the day, it's just a game of cricket, but I think that's the spirit of cricket for me.
But you actually, together, you sit down together, and that's the spirit of cricket. Friendship.
Okay, so now we know in theory what the spirit of cricket is. Let's see the spirit of cricket in practice on the field. This was a World Cup qualifying match between Ireland and Nepal, so a very important match. But the spirit of cricket shone through for all of us to see what exactly the spirit of cricket means.
Looks to hike that across the line. Andy McBride has ended up on his feet. I don't think they're going to run him out here, and that is brilliant to see. Asif Sheikh, take a bow. We speak so often about where the spirit of cricket has gone in our game, and you see it on show there, because Kamal Singh Iree has accidentally tripped up Andy McBride, and I've got goosebumps here in the commentary box, because that's a touching moment. It was accidental, but he could have run him out here, and Asif Sheikh has said no. He said he's not going to do it because of the spirit of the game. That's your nominee for the Spirit of Cricket Award for 2022 for the ICC. It's that young man, Asif Sheikh.
Massive respect for Asif there.
Here's this moment, the spirit of cricket moment. He's clearly tripped him, unintentionally albeit, and Asif Sheikh did the right thing. He had to think for a moment. It's only a split second he has. And what was lovely to see, the turn, and he went back, and Andy McBride said thank you very much. He went over and shook his hand, and he said you've done the right thing, and equally the same from Sandeep Lamachani. Brilliantly led. There's two young inspirational men, Sandeep Lamachani and the man of the moment, Asif Sheikh.
Right, so let's go into the law book, and the law book has got 42 laws of cricket. We are going to take you through the first 40 laws of cricket, and in level 1 we will take you through 41 and 42. So law 1 is the players. What do we need to know about players in cricket? I'm sure you all know that a match is played between two sides, each of 11 players, one of whom shall be captain. By agreement, a match may be played between sides of fewer than or more than 11 players, but not more than 11 players may field at any time. I'll give you an example. In Western Province Cricket Association club cricket, matches are supposed to be played between clubs of 11 players each, but sometimes you do find that a team is short of players. So the playing conditions for Western Province club cricket allow for a minimum of 7 players to play for a side. If a team does not have a minimum of 7 players by 30 minutes after the scheduled start of play, so if a match is supposed to start at 10 a.m., we will wait until as late as 10:30 a.m. for both teams to have a minimum of 7 players. If the one team has got a full 11 players, then they automatically win the toss. If the other team has only got 8 players when 10:30 arrives, then we start at 10:30 with Team B only playing with 8 players. Of course, if player number 9, 10, and 11 arrive after 10:30, they can join in the match as long as their names were on the team sheet. If during the match and for whatever reason a side is reduced to fewer than the original number of nominated players, the match shall continue as long as it is possible to do so under the laws or any agreements made before the toss. So when the law speaks about agreements made before the toss, playing conditions which are documented by every association, those govern how tournaments, matches will be played in that particular province. And that's why, as I mentioned, we will wait up until 10:30 if a team has less than 7 players for them to have a minimum of 7 players by 10:30. If they don't have a minimum of 7 players at 10:30, then they automatically lose that particular match. And the team who has a full number of players, they will automatically win that match. So this is what a team sheet looks like at Western Province Club Cricket. We used to play 2-day league matches. We still play 1-day limited overs matches, and our T20 competition is called the AMA20s. So at the top, usually these team sheets are filled in by the scorers of each team. At the top there, they would just tick which format match is being played on the day. They would write in the league, the venue, the date, the 2 teams with the home team on the left, and then they would write the name of their team where it says team sheet of. You will see there's place for 12 players. It is necessary to have names in all the 11 spaces next to the numbers. The 12th space, if a team does have a substitute, they can write the substitute's name in the 12th block, but it is not necessary. Each captain shall nominate his or her players in writing to one of the umpires before the toss. So even though this team sheet might be filled in by a scorer or a manager or a coach, it is the duty of the captain to bring the team sheet that is completed to the toss to give to one or both umpires. Only one umpire is required at the toss. Sometimes the second umpire is still running around making sure that the field is ready. Ideally, you want both umpires at the toss. It's not always possible, but law allows for only one umpire to be at the toss. Obviously, both captains need to be at the toss. Very importantly, once you've filled in your team sheet as a captain and submitted it to the umpire or umpires at the toss, no player may be replaced after the team sheet has been submitted without the consent of the opposing captain. Okay, so we will learn later in the laws that the toss can take place anytime from 30 minutes before the scheduled start of play until 15 minutes before the scheduled start of play. So if our match is scheduled to start at 10 a.m., then the toss can take place anytime between 9:30 and 9:45 a.m. So now, what happens if captain of Team A has submitted his or her team sheet, happy with all 11 names, and all 11 players are there? After the toss, during their warm-ups, because the players will still be warming up, there's an injury to a fast bowler of Team A. Can the captain just scratch out the name of the injured player and write in the name of a replacement player? They need the permission of the opposing captain to do such a change. Okay, they cannot do it on their own will. They need permission, not from the umpires, but from the opposing captain to change names on the team sheet. If such permission is granted, the captain of the team which the player is replaced shall inform the umpires and the scorers of the change. Okay. Let's look at some of the duties of the captain. If at any time the captain is not available, a deputy shall act for him or for her. If a captain is not available to nominate the players, as I mentioned, any person associated with that team may act as his or her deputy to fill in the team sheet. The scorer can fill in the team sheet, the manager, the coach, the vice captain, any one of the players, a parent of the players, anyone who is associated with the team can fill in the team sheet. But at any time after the team sheet has been filled, only a nominated player, that means only one of the players listed on the team sheet, one of the 11 players listed on the team sheet, can act as a deputy in discharging the duties and responsibilities of the captain, including the toss. So you can't have a coach going to the toss unless they are a player coach. You can't have a scorer going to the toss because they're not going to be playing. They are not one of the 11 nominated players on the team sheet. Let's move on to Law 2, the umpires. We have a lot to deal with the captains throughout a match. It starts even before the match. The law tells us that before the toss, the umpires shall meet with the captains to determine a few things. We need to determine the balls to be used during the match. It's quite important that both teams use the same cricket balls. If it's a men's match, it needs to be 156 grams. Is it red or is it white or is it pink? Is it a 2-piece or is it a 4-piece? Both teams need to use the same type of ball, including the brand. Okay, it's not fair if one team uses a Kookaburra ball and another team uses an Indwe ball, for example. Before the toss, the umpires also need to discuss with the captains the hours of play and the times and duration of intervals for meals and the times for drinks. We also need to determine which clock is to be used during the match. We also need to determine and communicate to the captains the boundary of the field of play and allowances for boundaries, including whether any obstacle within the field of play is to be regarded as a boundary. Some of your fields around the country might have soccer poles, rugby poles, hockey poles, or even a tree in the middle of the field or just inside the boundary. So what do you do if the ball hits the tree or the soccer poles in the middle of the cricket field? Do you award boundary 4? Do you award boundary 6? You don't make up that law. You ask the home captain, or you ask the home grounds person in charge of the field, what is the tradition? What is the local custom used when the ball hits that object inside the field of play? Is it going to be boundary 4 or is it going to be boundary 6? When the ball is rolling along the ground and when the ball is up in the air and hits that object in the full. Okay, that needs to be asked from the home side and communicated to both captains at the toss so that they can communicate that information to their players before the match starts. So there's no confusion during play when the ball hits the object in the field of play, whether it's a 4, whether it's a 6, whether it's play on. We also need to communicate to the captains the use of covers. We all know that cricket cannot be played in the rain. When the rain gets heavy enough for the umpires to call off play, they will call for the batting team who are sitting outside the field of play to bring the covers on. And quite often the covers are so heavy that it needs both teams to pull the covers to bring them on and cover the pitch and the square. So it's important to communicate to both captains that yes, the batting side, because they are off the field and will probably be close to the covers, they will start pulling the covers as soon as signaled by the umpires. But the fielding side should also go and help as soon as possible so that we can get the covers on earlier rather than later so that the pitch does not get wet. It can often happen that the side in a losing position doesn't want to pull covers. They want the pitch to get wet so that the game will be called off. That's why it's important, especially if you see the forecast is for rain during that match. It's important to speak to both captains at the toss, inform them that both teams will be responsible for pulling covers onto the field when it rains and pulling covers off the field when the rain stops. We also need to communicate any special conditions affecting the course of the match. If they are not documented in your playing conditions, if you need to take an extra long break because Bafana Bafana is going to play between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. and you all want to watch that match, then we're going to say we're going to play from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. Then we're going to take a 2-hour break. Then we're going to play from 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. to complete the match. If there is anything different to a normal game of cricket that needs to happen in that particular match, then you need to discuss, confirm, and communicate that special arrangement to the captains who will communicate it to their teams. Very importantly, all this information that we share with the captains at the toss, we need to, after the toss, share that same information with the scorers so they are also on the same page in terms of timings of the match. Who are the sole judges of fair and unfair play? The umpires are the sole judges of fair and unfair play. Not the coaches, not the captains, not the scorers. It is the umpires who decide whether players have stepped out of line or not. Who is in charge of the fitness of the field for play? It is solely for the umpires together. Remember, there's two of us on the field at the same time to decide whether conditions of ground, weather, or light, or exceptional circumstances mean that it would be dangerous or unreasonable for play to take place. So, what are the indicators for conditions to be considered dangerous or unreasonable? We will get to that shortly. But importantly, it is not considered dangerous or unreasonable just because conditions are not ideal. So a little bit of dew on the grass does not make conditions unreasonable or dangerous. Okay. What makes conditions dangerous or unreasonable? Law tells us that if there is an actual or foreseeable risks to the safety of players or umpires, that is what is defined as dangerous conditions. So conditions need to be as follows. The bowler needs a reasonable foothold, especially when they land with their back foot and their front foot in their delivery stride. About 5 times the weight of a bowler's body will land on their front foot as they bowl the ball, especially fast bowlers with a long run up and a big gather and jump in their delivery stride. So the crease where they land needs to be firm, should not have any loose pebbles that they can slip on. So the bowler needs a reasonable foothold. Fielders need to have the ability to move freely. If the ground underneath a fielder moves when they move, then that could be considered dangerous. The batters need to have the ability to play their strokes freely and to run between the wickets without any worry of slipping or falling. Okay, those are the conditions we need to look out for to determine whether they are dangerous or unreasonable. An unreasonable scenario for play to continue would be if there was a dust storm passing through the ground. It's not necessarily dangerous, but the batters and the fielders wouldn't be able to see the ball easily during a dust storm, so it would not be reasonable to continue play while the dust storm passes through the ground. We will have to wait until the dust storm passes for visibility to clear for us to resume the match. Let's talk about positioning of umpires. Law tells us that the umpire shall stand where he or she can best see any act upon which his or her decision may be required. Subject to this overriding consideration, the bowler's end umpire shall stand in a position so as not to interfere with either the bowler's run-up or the striker's view. What does that mean? That means the umpire at the bowler's end should stand right behind the middle stump in line so that they can see from the one set of stumps to the other. law doesn't specify how far back from the bowler's end stumps the bowler's end umpire should stand. We normally stand anywhere between 3 meters and 4 meters back from the bowler's end stumps. The striker's end umpire, remember I told you that often people refer to as the square leg umpire, but it's not referred to as per law, the square leg umpire. It's referred to as the striker's end umpire. They may elect to stand on the offside of the pitch instead of the leg side of the pitch, provided that that striker's end umpire informs 3 people, the captain of the fielding side, the striker, and the other umpire, that they are moving. Why would they move? Because sometimes the sun, when it's about to go down, it's directly in the eye line of the striker's end umpire if they're standing on the leg side. So then they would move to the offside for a better view with the sun not in their face. Let's look at some of the signals that umpires use. The out signal is very common. Make sure your finger is above your head. Boundary 4, need to finish with your arm at your chest. Boundary 6, both hands above the head. Bye. Leg bye, you need to raise, you need to turn to be square to the scorers, not facing them straight, but 90 degrees towards the scorers. And then the leg that's closest to the scorers, you lift it and you tap that leg. Short run, wide ball, dead ball, no ball, cancel the previous signal. New ball, you just raise the new ball in the direction of the scorers. And 5 penalty runs, you can either award 5 penalty runs to the fielding side by holding your opposite shoulder, or you can award 5 penalty runs to the batting side by tapping on the opposite shoulder. And throughout the laws, we will be going through when and where and how you use these signals when required. Okay, we won't get into that detail as yet. What's important is that the umpire shall wait until each signal to the scorers has been separately acknowledged by a scorer before allowing play to proceed. If several signals are to be used, they should be given in the order that the events occurred. So let's say a ball is bowled, batter attempts a shot, misses it, it hits the striker's pad and rolls all the way down to the boundary. And it was a no ball. So quite a few things to signal there. First signal is a no ball because the bowler overstepped. So first signal is no ball. Wait for the scorers to acknowledge, and then you acknowledge the scorers. And then the second signal would be leg bye. Wait for the scorers to acknowledge your signal. And then because the ball went over the boundary rope, having rolled on the ground, we signal boundary 4. Okay, so I didn't do all 3 of those signals at the same time. I did each one individually, and I waited until the scorer had acknowledged my signal before I made the next signal. All signals are to be made by the bowler's end umpire, except the signal for short run, which is to be signaled by the umpire at the end where the short running occurred. However, the bowler's end umpire shall be responsible for the final signal of short run to the scorers. Okay, so the first signal of short run is immediately after a batter has turned short, and we will get into short runs in Law 18. So if the short run was at the striker's end, as soon as a batter turns short at the striker's end, the striker's end umpire will signal short run. When the ball is dead, when they have completed running however many runs they wanted to run, then the bowler's end umpire will make the final signal of short run facing the scorers and wait for acknowledgement from the scorers. And if there was more than one run short on that particular delivery, then the bowler's end umpire needs to somehow communicate how many runs actually count for that delivery. Okay. Moving on to Law 3, the scorers. It's the shortest law in the law book. Only one slide to cover. 2 scorers shall be appointed to record 3 things. They record all the runs scored, all the wickets taken, and the number of overs bowled in an innings and in a match. Important that the 2 scorers sit together, whether it's club cricket, whether it's professional, provincial cricket, whether it's international cricket, the scorers always need to sit together. Even if it's quite cold and they want to sit in their car, the 2 scorers must sit in one car together. The scorers shall frequently check to ensure that their records agree. They shall agree with the umpires at every interval other than a drinks interval, because during a drinks interval, us umpires, we don't go off the field. And at the conclusion of the match, they also need to confirm the runs scored, the wickets taken, and number of overs bowled in the innings and the match. The scorers shall accept all instructions and signals given to them by umpires and shall immediately acknowledge each signal separately. 3 more laws that I'm doing before we take a 10-minute break. Law 4, 5, and 6. Starting with Law 4, the ball. The lawmakers have divided the balls up into 3 types of balls. Size 1 ball, which is mainly used in men's cricket, shall weigh not less than 156 grams, nor more than 163 grams. I'm not too worried about the measurements in terms of centimeters. I'll move on to the size 2 ball, which is usually used in women's cricket. It shall weigh not less than 142 grams, nor more than 149 grams. A size 3 ball, which is usually used in junior cricket under 13 and lower, shall weigh not less than 133 grams, not more than 140 grams. The last time I did an under 13 match, way back in 2009, they were using 135 gram balls. Law 5 is the bat. Here we have a picture showing 6 different types of bats. Law tells us that the bat consists of 2 parts, a handle and a blade. The handle being the top part of the bat and the blade being the bottom part of the bat. Let's talk about the handle. The handle is to be made primarily of cane and or wood. Part of the handle that is wholly outside the blade is defined to be the upper portion of the handle. It is a straight shaft for holding the bat. The upper portion of the handle may be covered with a grip, and usually is. to make holding the bat easier. What about the blade? The blade comprises the whole of the bat apart from the handle. The blade shall consist solely of wood. Here we have a picture of an Australian batter way back in 1979 who used an aluminium bat in Perth, Australia. They were playing a test match against England, and back then it wasn't in the laws, it wasn't specific that the blade should only be made out of wood. So he decided he would use an aluminium bat, which was probably hitting the ball further away than a wooden bat. After this match, the lawmakers introduced this law that the blade shall consist only of wood. What are the sizes of the bat? The overall length of a bat, when the lower portion of the handle is inserted into the blade, shall not be more than 96.52 centimeters. Now, you don't have to memorize any of these numbers. You just need to kind of remember what sort of ballpark the length of a bat is, because as mentioned, your Cricket South Africa Introduction to Umpiring exam is all true or false questions. So you will be seeing these numbers. You just need to recognize whether it's correct or incorrect. Then we have got maximum measurements for the blade. The width shall not exceed 10.8 centimeters. The depth of the bat shall not exceed 6.7 centimeters. And the edges shall not be more than 4 centimeters thick. How do we test these bat size limits? The bat should be able to pass through a bat gauge. This is what a bat gauge looks like. So if a bat is able to pass through the bat gauge, then it is legal. If a bat cannot go through that bat gauge, it is too big and is not allowed to be used. We do not confiscate bats. We merely mark an X on the bat. So us as umpires, we know to be aware of any bats that have got a big black X on them. They are too big and should not be used in our matches. Law 6 is the pitch, and this is going to be the last law that I go through, and then we're going to take a 10-minute break, and then Abdullah is going to take us through laws 7 to 15. The pitch is a rectangular area of the ground 22 yards or 20.12 meters in length. And our tape measures use centimeters and meters. So I would rather you all remember, even though the 22 yards is easier to remember than the 20.12 meters. We don't have yards on our tape measures, so please try and remember that the length of the pitch from the one set of stumps to the other set of stumps is 20.12 meters. And the width of the pitch is 3 meters and 5 centimeters, 3.05 meters. Okay. What do we do when we arrive at the ground? We measure the creases and we measure the length of the pitch. If we find that a pitch is not exactly 20.12 meters, what do? Well, you have two options. Firstly, if the pitch is too long or too short by 30 centimeters or less. So let's say the pitch, we measure it and it is exactly 20 meters in length. That means it is 12 centimeters too short. Okay. 12 centimeters out of 20 meters and 12 centimeters is a very small percentage. It is not a significant amount to be out by. So we will play on. We will inform both captains that captains, this pitch is 12 centimeters too short, and you will tell the home captain, please make sure that next week when this pitch is played on again, it is 20.12 centimeters, not 20 meters only. If the pitch is more than 30 centimeters too long or too short, so if it is 21 meters, that means it's 88 centimeters too long, then we need to change and correct the length of the pitch, okay? Because anything more than 30 centimeters out, whether it's too long or it's too short, is now a material difference to what it should be. Okay, so it's quite a mission to change creases, because what you need to do is you would need to rub out the one set of creases on the one side of the pitch, and you need to redraw them after measuring from middle stump to middle stump 20.12 meters. Okay, so we give 30 centimeters leeway. At least that's what we do in Western Province Cricket Umpires Association. I'm not sure about other associations around the country, but we feel that anything more than 30 centimeters too long or too short is critical and will change the flow of the game. So we need to correct the length of the pitch. That's why we will learn that umpires need to be at the ground at least 45 minutes before the scheduled start of a match, so that we can measure the creases, measure the pitch, and if we need to change the creases, then we've got some time to do so. Who selects and prepares a pitch? Before the match, the ground authority shall be responsible for the selection and preparation of the pitch. During the match, the umpires shall control the use of the pitch and the maintenance of the pitch. Can we change a pitch during a match? Law tells us that the pitch shall not be changed during the match unless the umpires decide that it is dangerous or unreasonable for play to continue on the pitch, and then only with the consent of both captains can we change the pitch. Okay, so we cannot, as umpires, change the pitch on our own. We need the permission or the consent of both captains to change the pitch. If we deem it dangerous, we approach the captains. Captains, this is too dangerous to play on. We need to change the pitch. Do you consider playing on the next strip on this square? What is the length of the pitch in junior cricket? Is it still 20.12 meters? Law tells us that the governing body for cricket in the country concerned shall determine the length of the pitch for junior cricket. So just ask the ground authority if you have an under 13 match or under 11 match or under 9 match, if they use shorter pitches or not. I have seen Cape Premier League matches around Cape Town, under 13, under 11, under 9, all using adult size pitches.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us after our 10-minute interval. Kicking off my portion of the laws, law number 7 covers the creases. So what are these creases? These creases are those white lines that you see on the pitch. And these white lines, they actually have names, and they do have measurements as well. I mean, I played the game for more than 25 years at club level in the Western Cape. And I never knew these names, these lines or creases had names and they had measurements. Only once I did my umpiring course, my first umpiring course, did I find out that they actually do have names and they do have measurements. So we're now going to have a closer look at these lines or creases. This is a provincial ground of the Northwest Dragons. It's the JB Marks Oval in Potchefstroom. So here are these lines, or creases as they called as per the law. So there are 3 creases. Where my cursor is hovering, that's the front line, that is called the popping crease. The second crease is the bowling crease, and this is the crease where the stumps are put in or pitched in. And the third crease, there are 2 of them, they are the side creases and they called return creases. So just to recap the name of these creases, popping crease, this is this front crease called the popping crease. Then there's the bowling crease where the stumps are pitched in. And then the 2 return creases, one on either sides. So now we know the names of the creases. They also have measurements. So in this slide, I'll go through again the names of the creases and then I'll go through the measurements. So on the right hand side, let's just to recap their names again. So the bowling crease, this is where the stumps are put in. Where these 3 black dots are, these are where the stumps will be. So this is the bowling crease. And the popping crease is the front one. And there are 2 return creases, one on either side. So now to go to the measurements, let's start with the popping crease. Measurement of the popping crease is 3.66 meters. I prefer using the metric system. Our measuring tapes are in meters and centimeters and millimeters. So it's much easier for me to memorize or to remember the measurements in meters. So 3.66 meters, that is the measurement of the popping crease. The bowling crease, 2.64 meters. And the bowling crease is an exact measurement. It's measured from the one return crease or the inside edge of the one return crease to the inside edge of the other return crease. So 2.64 meters, exact measurement. And the measurement of the 2 return creases is a minimum measurement of 2.44 meters. So why do I say a minimum measurement? All the law tells us is it needs to be a minimum of 2.44 meters. So technically these return creases can go right up until the boundary, but yeah, the curator don't usually take them so far. All they do is law wants us it to be a minimum of 2.44 meters, and also there's a minimum length for the popping crease, which is 3.66 meters. So again, popping crease also you can take up right until the boundary, but all the law tells us is it should be a minimum of 3.66 meters. Another important measurement is the measurement from the bowling crease up until the return crease, and that measurement is 1.22 meters. From the back edge of the bowling crease, where the arrow is pointing, that's where you'll put your measuring tape, and you'll take it right up until the back edge of the popping crease, and that should be 1.22 meters. This is a very important duty of the umpires. Before the game starts, umpires needs to be at the field at least 45 minutes before the game starts. And this is one of the duties that we as the umpires need to perform. We need to double check that the creases are there and that they are the correct measurements. And lastly, just to confirm again, measurement of the pitch is 20.12 meters. And that we also need to double check with our measuring tape. Law 8 covers the wickets. Also in terms of the wickets, we also need to double check that the width of the wickets is 22.86 centimeters. So at the bottom, if you see the arrow, we'll take our measuring tape and we'll make sure that it is 22.86 centimeters. And the length of the wickets, 71.12 centimeters. And it's measured from where the arrow here at the bottom, right up until the top. And on top of the wickets or the stumps, we need to put 2 sets of bails. So speaking about bails, the law allows for the bails to be removed. Often you find in strong winds that the strong wind keeps on blowing the bails off on top of the stumps. So the law allows for, if the wind blows it off continuously, for you, the umpires, to remove those bails from the top of the stumps. You can put it in your pocket while the wind is still blowing strong. Later on, if the wind do die down a bit, you can put the bails back on. And if you do decide to remove the bails, you need to remove it from both ends. Law number 9 covers the preparation and the maintenance of the playing area after the game has started. We're just going to focus on one subsection under this particular law, and this subsection is rolling of the pitch. When are you allowed to roll after the game has started, and how long are you allowed to roll? Again, and this is after the game has started. Before the game has started, the curator usually prepare the pitch, and he or she can roll for as long as they want. This is now before the game, but as soon as the game has started, the law guides us in terms of when you can roll and how long you can roll. So let's start off with how long you can roll, not more than 7 minutes. So are you allowed to roll for 5 minutes? Yes, you are. Can you roll for 2 minutes? Yes, definitely. 6 minutes? Yeah, no problem. 1 minute, of course, as long as it's not more than 7 minutes. So can you roll for 8 minutes? Definitely not. The maximum that you are allowed to roll is 7 minutes. So now we know the maximum rolling. So after the game has started, when are we then allowed to roll? So the laws of cricket focuses on more day cricket. What is more day cricket? An example is test match cricket that spans over more than 1 day. It's not a T20 game, or it's not a 50 over game. The law focuses on more day cricket, or when there's more than 1 innings. So in test matches, there are 2 innings per side, and it's played over 5 days. So now, in terms of these rolling, the law allows rolling to take place before the start of each subsequent innings, and then before the start of each subsequent day's play. So I'll give you an example. The test match, let's say between South Africa and Zimbabwe, test match spans over 5 days. So day number 1, let's say play starts at 10 o'clock. South Africa won the toss, and let's say they're batting. They get dismissed for 200. It's now then time for Zimbabwe to go bat in their first innings. So South Africa scored 200 in their first innings. So now there'll be a change of innings interval, and we'll cover that example of intervals in the next law, but there'll be a 10-minute change of innings interval, and during that change of innings interval, the law allows for rolling to take place. So what will practically happen is the umpires will ask the Zimbabwean captain, Cappy, do you want rolling? If yes, which roller do you want? And also how long? Let me just go to the next screen that shows you, usually at international grounds or most provincial grounds, there will be 3 rollers available. So the batting captain at the time can choose which roller he or she wants to use, either the big one on the right or the medium one, or there's also the hand roller as an option. So before the start of each subsequent innings, like in my example, Zimbabwe is now going to bat in their first innings. The batting captain, the Zimbabwean captain, has the option to roll, and he or she can choose how long, not more than 7 minutes, and also which roller, whether it's the big one, the medium one, or the hand roller. It's up to the captain to decide. And also, the other instance where rolling is allowed is before the start of each subsequent day's play. An example of that is in our test match, Zimbabwe, South Africa, day 1, South Africa batted. Let's say they were dismissed for 200. Zimbabwe will now go bat. They battle the end of the day 1. So the morning of day 2, Zimbabwe will continue their innings. And let's say day 2 starts at 10 o'clock. So now the law allows for before the start of the day's play, the side that's batting at the moment, and in my example, Zimbabwe is batting at the moment. We will go to the Zimbabwean captain and ask the captain, do you want rolling? If yes, which roller? And then how long you want this rolling to be. And let's say the captain tells you, yes, Umpy, I want rolling. Please get me the big one. And then I want 6 minutes of rolling. No issue. We will relay that message to the curator. And the law also guides us when these rolling to take place. So in my last example, where I said the rolling to take place before the start of each subsequent day's play. So let's say the game starts at 10 o'clock, or the second day will start at 10 o'clock. The rolling will take place anytime between 9:30 and 9:50. So 9:35, yes, you can roll. 9:30, you can roll. 9:40, you can roll. 9:45, you can roll. No issue. Anytime between 9:30 and 9:50. So those are the 2 instances after the game has started when rolling is allowed, and the length. Law 10 covers the covering of the pitch. Does the law allow for the pitch to be covered? Yes, the law allows for it. So before the game starts, the curator, he or she and their team, they can cover the pitch as they see fit. Absolutely no issue. It's their responsibility. But as soon as the game has started, now the umpires are in charge. Umpires now decides when the pitch to be covered, and the law guides us when this needs to happen. Firstly, the law tells us if there are inclement weather like rain around and it is raining, please, pitch needs to be covered at any time during the game. Also, pitch needs to be covered on each night of the match. So like in my example of the test match between South Africa and Zimbabwe, test match spans over 5 days. So day 1, let's say, starts at 10 o'clock, ends at 5 o'clock. Next morning, day 2 will start at 10 o'clock again. So what the law is saying is, the evening of day 1, that pitch needs to be covered overnight. Curator needs to make sure that it's covered. Similarly, the evening of day 2, pitch needs to be covered. As for day 3 and for day 4, pitch needs to be covered overnight. And as I previously mentioned, it needs to be covered also in inclement weather. Also, the law guides us. Again, this is the law in terms of how big these covers should be. Covers should be long enough that it is 1.22 meters beyond the pitch at each end. So you don't just cover the exact length of the pitch, 20.12 meters. It should be 1.22 meters beyond at each end. And the law tells us, if possible, please try to cover the bowlers' run-ups as well. So now we know when the pitch to be covered. So when it comes to the removal of covers, here also the law guides us and tells us covers to be removed as soon as play is expected to take place on each day. I'll give you an example. I've just mentioned that the evening of day 1, pitch needs to be covered overnight. Play will start 10 o'clock the morning of day 2. So now on the morning of day 2, when must those covers be removed? They don't give us an exact time. They just say, please remove them as soon as practicable. Also, in terms of inclement weather, as soon as it's raining, please cover the pitch. And as soon as the rain stop, you can then remove the covers from the pitch. Law 11 covers intervals. So what are examples of intervals? Law guides us. The first example of a scheduled interval. What are scheduled intervals? These are intervals that are decided before the game starts. They're scheduled. There are exact timings for them, but let's first go through what are examples of intervals that were decided before the game started. First example is, and which the law sees as a scheduled interval, is period between close of play on one day and the start of the next day's play. I'll use again our example, Zimbabwe, South Africa test match. So day 1, play starts at 10 and will end at 5 o'clock. And day 2 will start at 10 o'clock again. So now the law tells us at 5 o'clock when it ended, play ended on day 1, until on day 2, play will restart at 10 o'clock. So that period from 10 o'clock, from 5 o'clock on the evening of day 1 and 10 o'clock the morning of day 2, that period is seen as a scheduled interval as per the laws. Also, your interval between innings, that is also a scheduled interval. Your interval for meals, so in more day cricket, like in test match cricket, they have every day there will be a lunch interval and there will be a tea interval. Your interval for drinks, also a scheduled interval. And lastly, any other agreed interval before the game, that is also seen as a scheduled interval. So these are 5 examples of scheduled intervals, meaning intervals that were decided by the governing body of cricket for that competition before the game has started. So if I can use test match cricket as an example, and even Cricket South Africa's provincial competition applies the same timings as test match cricket. So governing body for international cricket is International Cricket Council, and governing body for cricket in South Africa is Cricket South Africa. So in terms of how long our lunch interval is and how long our tea interval is, so cricket, the International Cricket Council decided lunch interval 40 minutes. Tea interval 20 minutes. Drinks interval 4 minutes. Your interval between innings 10 minutes. So the point I'm just trying to make is these scheduled intervals, as was decided before the game started, governing body decides on the timings of these intervals. So I've just mentioned that governing body, they decide these timings, and I'll use lunch as an example. Let's say lunch is 40 minutes in test matches. So guidance that the law gives us is, if you decide lunch to be 40 minutes, like in a test match, players needs to enjoy a 40-minute lunch break. So if play stops at, let's say in our test match, lunch is at 12 o'clock. So at 12 o'clock, we get to the final ball of the overs bowled. Umpire look at the watch, sees it's 12 o'clock. Umpire will then call overtime and lunch. Law tells us players must enjoy a 40-minute lunch interval. So the first ball after lunch to be bowled at 12:40. So players needs to enjoy a 40-minute break. It's not always that the over ends at exactly 12 o'clock. And we'll see in the next law there are times where you get to 12 o'clock and you're only midway through the over. So in the next law we will actually see that you need to complete the over. So if we get to 12 o'clock and we've only bowled 3 balls, we need to first complete that over. And let's say the over is completed 12:03. Law tell us we'll now take lunch at 12:03, but we need to enjoy, players and umpires need to enjoy a 40-minute lunch. So seeing that we called lunch at 12:03, first ball after lunch to be bowled at 12:43. I mentioned about a 10 minute the change of innings, and that is 10 minutes. The governing body of cricket for whatever the competition is, in my example that I've been using throughout my lecture so far, is test match cricket. So in terms of lunch is 12 o'clock in South Africa. Well, play starts at 10 o'clock. Lunch will be 12 o'clock. Tea will be 20 to 3, and close of play will be 5 o'clock. So these are the fixed times of our lunch intervals. But the law gave us gave a bit of flexibility when it comes to these lunch intervals, meaning if something happens, like in this example, if it rains 10 minutes or less before we get to our official lunch time, we can take an early lunch. We can try to save a bit of time instead of the lunchtime being set and not allowed to change. So yes, there are flexibility in the laws where we can play around with our lunch interval. And this is one example. So if lunch is at 12 o'clock, and if it rains 10 minutes or less to lunch, we can take an early lunch. And so example, lunch is 12 o'clock. At 12:55, at 11:55, it starts to rain. So what happens? Can we take lunch, seeing that lunch is 12 o'clock? Yes, we can take lunch. This clause in the law allows us to take an early lunch. Because it rained 10 minutes to lunch, we can take an early lunch at 11:55. And lunch being 40 minutes, so if conditions allow us, so if it stopped raining, we can take lunch from 11:55 until 12:35. So first ball, if weather permits, if it stopped raining, we can restart at 12:35. There's also flexibility when it comes to our tea interval. So tea in my example, test match between South Africa and Zimbabwe is 14:40. So if it rains 30 minutes or less to tea, we can take an early tea to try to maximize play. So there is flexibility when it gets to our lunch and our tea interval. So lunchtime there's a 10-minute flexibility that the lawmakers allow. Tea time, there's a 30-minute flexibility where they allow, if it rains 30 minutes or less to tea, we can take an early tea. Like in an example, tea being 14:40. If it rains at 14:20, we can take an early tea. Why? We can activate this clause. This clause tells us if it rains 30 minutes or less to tea, and in my example, it started to rain 14:20, and this is 20 minutes to tea. And because it's 20 minutes to tea, we can activate this particular clause in the law by taking tea early. So we'll take an early tea at 14:20, and tea being 20 minutes. So if we will then restart, if conditions permit, at 14:40 again. Another example of flexibility that the lawmakers brought into when it comes to our lunch and our tea interval. If a side is 9 wickets down, and again, these flexibilities were brought in just to save time, to maximize time during the day. So this particular flexibility is when a side is 9 wickets down at either lunch or tea, and if that is the case, we can allow play to continue for a maximum of 30 more minutes to allow the fielding side the opportunity to try to take the last wicket. And if they can, we can then have lunch or tea immediately. If they can't, we can only allow a max of 30 minutes. Okay, that's a theory. Let me give you an example to practically show you how this theory works. At our tea is at 14, let's say our lunch is at 12 o'clock. South Africa is busy batting, and we get to 12 o'clock, the final ball is bowled, umpire look at his or her what sees is exactly 12 o'clock, the sixth ball of the over gets bowled, and South Africa is 200 for the loss of 9 wickets. So now what happens? Do we take lunch? The law tells us no, you will not take lunch in this example. Why? Yes, even though we've reached 12 o'clock and it is technically our lunch time, but South Africa is 9 wickets down. They're 200 for 9. And because they're 9 down, we will extend play for a maximum of 30 minutes. But the side must be 9 down. If South Africa was 200 for 8, we have to take lunch at 12 o'clock. But in this example, with South Africa being 200 for 9, we will play for a further max of 30 minutes. So if South Africa can take that last wicket in the 30 minutes that we allow maximum to play further, we will then take lunch. So the example, let's say 12 o'clock, South Africa 9 down, we now know we need to play a further maximum of 30 minutes. Let's say we get to 10 past 12 and South Africa now takes the wicket. What will happen now? Now we will take lunch at 10 past 12. Lunch will be 40 minutes. We will then have lunch from 12:40, and first ball after lunch needs to be bowled at 12:50. There will be a change of innings during our lunch interval, and we will incorporate that change of innings into our lunch interval. So we've saved 10 minutes. Another example. So let's say South Africa is 200 for 9. We get to lunch. We now know we can't take lunch at 12 o'clock. We need to extend it to a max of 30 minutes. So now we get to 12:30 and South Africa is still batting. Zimbabwe could not take that last wicket. So now the law tells us if we can only allow to play a max of 30 minutes. Now if we get to 12:30, we now need to take lunch at 12:30. And lunch will be from 12:30 for 40 minutes and first ball after lunch to be bowled at 13:10. When it comes to the start of play, end of play, how does this happen? So if I can take you to the start of the game, let's say in our test match on Africa Zimbabwe, we'll cover the toss in the next law. So the toss will take place at 9:30. Game will start at 10 o'clock. Let's say South Africa won the toss. They're now batting. Game start at 10 o'clock. So practically what will happen is the on-field umpires will walk onto the field at 9:55. Why at 9:55? We need to make sure that the first ball gets bowled at 10 o'clock. So if we walk onto the field at 10 o'clock, there's no way that we can bowl that first ball at 10 o'clock. So we the umpires, we walk onto the field at 9:55. And the umpires will then go to their respective positions. One will go to the bowler's end, the other will go to the other end, the striker's end. After the umpires took the field, the fielding captain will take his or her side onto the field. So the fielders will then take the field. And after that, the batters will then take the field. So umpires, they chose their respective ends. The fielding captain needs to choose an end that they're going to bowl from, and they need to decide who's going to open the bowling, and then the batters will then decide who's going to face the first ball. So let's say that I'm the bowler's in umpire, and they're bowling from my side. So what I will do is, usually what will happen is the batter will ask for a guard, middle stump or leg stump or two leg, whatever the case. We'll give it to the batter. We'll inform the batter that the bowler is bowling right arm over. We will confirm with the scorers that they're ready for the game to start. I'll confirm with my colleague that he or she is ready. Fielding captain, are you ready? And before that first ball is bowled, this is where the bowlers in umpire needs to call play. And this calling of play will indicate that the game is now going to start. So we start the match by the calling of play. So like in football, when the game is going to start, the referee blows the whistle. That's how football indicates that the game is going to start. In cricket, we don't have whistles, so we verbally call play. We call it loudly, play, so that everyone can hear, and this call of play indicates the start of the match. After every interval or interruption, we will also call play to indicate play after the interval or after the interruption. So now we know how to start the game. The law also guides us in terms of when we do in the day's play or in a session of play, before we leave the field, we need to call time. So the bowlers in umpire verbally calls time, and this call of time indicates that either the session is at an end, or the day is at an end, or the match is at an end. As soon as the umpire calls time, bails to be removed from both wickets. So the two umpires needs to remove the bails from on top of the stump. So we usually take it from top of the stumps and throw it onto the floor. The law wants this because the bails on the floor indicates that there's no play currently in progress. So as soon as you call time to go to lunch or tea or at the end of the day, you need to remove the bails from the top of the stumps. So in modern cricket, you have, like in Test match cricket, you have 2 hourly sessions, 3 2-hourly sessions. So in Test match cricket in South Africa, the game will start, day one will start at 10 o'clock, lunch will be at 12 o'clock. 2-hour session in the morning, we'll have a 2-hour session in the afternoon and a 2-hour session in the evening or late afternoon. So the law wants the fielding side to try to bowl as many overs as they can in those 2 hours. If you can bowl 50 overs in those 2 hours, you can bowl 50 overs. You need to try to bowl as many. So when in terms of starting the new over, so as you bowler need to bowl as many overs as you can. But let's say you get to 11:59 and you've now called over, and you look at your watch and you see it's 1 minute to go till 12 o'clock. So can you take lunch at 11:59? No, you can't, because lunch you can only take at 12 o'clock. But now what happens? It's only a minute to go. Surely we can't bowl the next over in a minute to get to 12 o'clock. So now the law guides us by telling us, no, it's 11:59, so you can't take lunch yet. So now what you need to do is you just need to check whether, if walking at normal pace and the striker's in umpire gets to behind the stumps before 12 o'clock is reached, you then to start a next over. If you can't get to behind the stumps before 12 o'clock, you can call lunch. But if you can get there before 12, you can start a next over. Earlier, I mentioned about the completion of the over, and the example that I used was you get to 12 o'clock and you're midway through the over. 3 balls was bowled in the over. So what do? Do you just stop midway through the over and take lunch at 12 o'clock? No, the law tells us no. Please first complete that over and then you take lunch. So we can never stop mid-over to go and take lunch, we first need to complete that over. There is one exception, and that exception is if with less than 3 minutes to go to, let's say, our lunch interval, a batter either is dismissed or retires, then we can take lunch immediately. But it must be less than 3 minutes to go, even if it's mid-over. Okay, that's the theory. Let me give you an example to show you how this theory works. So in our test match South Africa Zimbabwe, lunch is at 12 o'clock. At South Africa is busy batting, and at 11:58, South Africa loses their, let's say, third wicket. So now a wicket fell at 11:58. So now what happens? It is, so 11:58, and we know lunch is at 12 o'clock. So there's still 2 minutes left. So what must now happen? Must the new batter come in, seeing that there's 2 minutes left till the lunch interval? And this is where the law guides us, and this is where we can activate law 12.5.2, where it tells us if a wicket falls with less than 3 minutes to go, and in my example, with the third South African wicket falling at 11:58, and that is less than 3 minutes to go to lunch, we can then take lunch at 11:58. But it must be within 3 minutes. And so we took lunch at 11:58. How long is lunch? Lunch is 40 minutes. So if we took lunch at 11:58 and lunch is for 40 minutes, first ball after lunch needs to be bowled at 12:38. But again, it must be less than 3 minutes to go if a wicket falls for us to take a lunch. Law 13 covers the innings, and again, the theme of the law is it covers more day cricket, like test match cricket, where there's more than one innings. Like in test match cricket, both sides are allowed to bat for 2 innings. So the law tells us, yes, usually match over 2 innings, but a match can also be 1 innings. The law allows that flexibility, as long as that this is decided before the game. Like in test match cricket, we know it's 2 innings. So that was decided before the game, but the law is flexible and it allows for a match to be played over only 1 innings. No issue. The law is also flexible in terms of you are allowed to put limitations on how long the innings should be in terms of overs or in terms of a time. I'll give you an example. Let's say it was decided before the game that yes, we're playing a 2 innings match, but in the first innings you're only allowed to bat for 60 overs. Both sides only allowed to bat for 60 overs, and in your second innings you're only allowed to bat for 50 overs. Those are just an example of an agreement that can be put in place. The law is flexible and it allows for these type of agreements. Or you can put a time span to an innings. You're only allowed to bat for 2 hours or 3 hours. The law is flexible. It allows for it. Because we all know not all more day cricket can be played over 5 days. So like in test match cricket, there are no limitations. In either your first or your second innings, you can bat as long as you want, how many overs as you want. But not all more day cricket can be played over 5 days. I know there are some of these competitions that spans 4 days, like here in South Africa. Colts cricket play is 3 days. I know there are some places that play club cricket over 2 days. And some of them play more day cricket over in 1 day. So just depending on what the governing body decided for cricket for that particular competition. But the law is flexible and it allows for these type of agreements that you can put in place. So in a 2 innings match, the law wants innings to be taken alternately. You cannot have captains come to you and say, let's say it's a test match and captains come and say, Abdullah, we Zimbabwe want to bat both our innings first, and after we're done, South Africa can then go bat their 2 innings. No, that's not, the law doesn't allow for that. Innings needs to be taken alternately. So South Africa, let's say they win the toss, they bat in their first innings, and let's say they get dismissed for 200. Now Zimbabwe will go bat in their first innings, and let's say they get dismissed for 100. Now South Africa will go bat in their second innings, and then Zimbabwe to go bat in their second innings. So it needs to be taken alternately. There are 2 exceptions, and we're going to get to those laws in later slides. And those 2 exceptions are, if there is a follow-on to happen, then a side can bat consecutively, or if there's a forfeiture, then the side can bat their 2 innings consecutively. But except for those 2 exceptions, innings needs to be taken alternately. So what is seen in the law as a completed innings? As soon as the side's all out, as soon as 10 wickets are taken, side is all out, the law sees that as that side is now completed their innings. Another example of a completed innings is at the fall of a wicket, or if a batter retires, there are still overs left or balls left to be bowled, but there's no more batters to come in. As soon as that happens, innings is completed. As soon as a captain declares an innings, and we'll get to what a declaration is in the next law. So as soon as a captain declares, innings is also completed. As soon as a captain forfeits an innings also completed. And I mentioned earlier that the law is flexible and it allows for innings to be capped to overs or time. So the law just tell us if you did limit an innings to a number of overs or a time, as soon as those overs or time has been reached, those innings is also completed. I mentioned earlier about the toss. The law also guides us about the toss. Who needs to be there? Where does it take place? What are the timings of the toss? So let's first have a look at who needs to be there. The law wants both captains to be there, non-negotiable. Who else needs to be there? At least one of the umpires, preferably both umpires, but if only one is available, no issue, but at least one umpire to be at the toss. So now we know both captains needs to be there and at least one umpire, preferably both. Where does the toss take place? According to the law, anywhere on the field of play. So where's anywhere on the field of play? If you can just visualize a boundary, as soon as you put your foot across the boundary rope and you step onto the field of play, that is technically on the field of play. So according to the law, the toss can take place right there. But we all know it's customary that the toss take place right next to the match pitch. But that is the custom. It's been done so for many centuries. But according to the law, anywhere on the field of play. What are the timings of the toss? When must it take place? There's specific timings. There's a window period for the toss to take place. And that window period is, let's say in our test match with African Zimbabwe, 10 o'clock start on the morning of day 1. So that the window period for the toss to take place is anytime between 9:30 and 9:45. So can you toss at 9:30 according to the law? Yes, you can. Can you toss at 9:35? Yes, you can. 9:38? Of course you can. 9:43? Yes, you can. Can you toss at 9:48? No, you can't. It's outside that 15-minute window period. Can you toss at 9:25? No, you cannot, because it's again outside that 15-minute window period. So not earlier than 30 minutes, not later than 15 minutes, 1-5. And the law also tells us as soon as the toss is completed, captain who wins the toss needs to inform the opposing captain immediately whether they're going to bat or field. And emphasis on immediately. You cannot have a captain telling you, Ampie, just give me a second. Let me go discuss this quickly with my captain. Oh, sorry, with my coach and my team. Can I get back to you? You're going to tell the captain, no, Cappy. You should have had this conversation earlier. You've won the toss. Please tell me, are you going to bat or are you going to field? They need to let you know immediately. The penultimate law that I'm covering is the follow-on law. So in cricket, there's this concept of a side following on, and when is a side, or when can a side enforce the follow-on? The law guides us and tell us there needs to be a lead in the first innings. And if the match is 5 days or more, like our test matches spans over 5 days, the lead in the first innings needs to be 200 runs for the captain to ask the other side to go follow on. I'll give you an example. Our South Africa Zimbabwe test match. Let's say Zimbabwe wins the toss, they batting first, and they score 600 in their first innings. 600, let's say all out. South Africa will now go bat. And let's say South Africa gets dismissed for 350 in their first innings. So now this is where this law can be activated. The law tells us if after both sides have batted first and the side that bats first leads by at least 200 runs, and in my example, Zimbabwe leads South Africa by 250 runs on the first innings, the captain of Zimbabwe has the option of asking South Africa to go bat again in their second innings. So this, remember I mentioned there was an exception. Innings needs to be taken alternately, but there is this exception when there is a follow-on, like in my example, where Zimbabwe is leading South Africa by 250 runs in their first innings. The captain of Zimbabwe can ask South Africa to go bat again in their first innings. But the lead must be 200, at least 200 in a 5-day test match, or some games are more than 5 days. These days there are no games more than 5 days, but I know back in the day they used to play cricket in more than 5 days. But these days maximum that they play is 5 days. The law also recognizes that not all competitions are played over 5 days. Here in South Africa, we play provincial cricket over 4 days. I know Colts cricket is played over 3 days. I know some club cricket matches are played over 2 days, and I do know in Gauteng they play more innings matches, in 1 day. So it is possible. The law just guides us in terms of what the minimum lead should be for these type of formats. So if it's a 3 or 4 day game, the minimum lead needs to be 150 runs to allow the captain to enforce the follow on or not. And if it's a 2 day game, the minimum lead needs to be 175 for a 1 day game. Again, in terms of following on, as soon as the captain decides, yes, umpire, I want the other side to go follow on, or no, I don't want them to follow on. As soon as that decision is made, they need to inform the umpire immediately. And as soon as they notify the umpire, that decision then cannot be changed. And lastly, on this under this law, if the first day's play is lost, but no play needs to take first on the first day. So in our test match, Zimbabwe, South Africa, and we know a test match spans over 5 days. So if it rains the whole of the first day, not a single ball gets bowled, and play will start at 10 o'clock on day 2. So we lost the whole of the first day. So now when we start on day 2, there are only 4 days left in our test match. So in terms of the follow-on lead, because we lost the whole first day, not a single ball was bowled, the minimum lead now needs to be 150 runs to force the follow-on. The last law that I'm covering before handing over to Tom is in more day cricket, more innings cricket, there is this concept of declaration. The law allows captain of one side, if he or she feels that they've got enough runs on the board and they feel like declaring their innings, the law allows them to do it. So yes, an example of this, let's say against South Africa, Zimbabwe, South Africa batting first, and they amass 724 for the loss of 4 wickets. Let's say we get to the morning of day 2. um, 11 o'clock the morning of day 2. South African captain feels like 724. I think that is enough runs on the board for my first innings. The law allows the captain of South Africa to inform the opposing captain or the captain of Zimbabwe and the umpires that I am declaring my innings close. And as soon as the captain declares that innings is now completed, Zimbabwe will now come out to bat in their first innings. So law allows for, if the captain feels that he or she's got enough runs on the board, you're allowed to declare your innings. The law also allows for forfeiture of an innings. What is this forfeiture? Doesn't happen that often, and we'll see in the next slide that in the history of Test match cricket, it only happened once, but we'll get there in the next slide. But the law allows that a captain may forfeit their innings before the side has commenced that innings. The law allows for it, and if a captain is happy to forfeit their innings, they can forfeit their innings. Doesn't happen that often, but you are allowed. And I mentioned earlier, as soon as you declare or you forfeit your innings, you need to inform the opposing captain. And once you've decided, yes, umpire, I'm declaring, and yes, I'm forfeiting, as soon as that decision is made, it then cannot be changed afterwards. I mentioned earlier, in the history of Test match cricket, there's only been one example of a forfeiture, and it happened in the year 2000, where the late Hansie Cronje was still captain of South Africa, and his English counterpart was Nasser Hussain, and there was lots of rain around, and there was South Africa decided, to forfeit, their second innings. England declared their first innings, so there was a forfeiture to try to make a game of it, because they lost lots of rain due to they lost lots of play due to rain, and so England chasing 2-7. I can't remember the exact total. What was it? I think 249 in 76 overs. They got it. They got there. 5 balls to spare. England won the game. This was the only example of a forfeiture in the history of Test match cricket. But later on, it was found out that that game was actually fixed. And a bookmaker approached the late Hansie Cronje, and because the match was fixed, this particular game was scrapped from the record books. So yes, they only forfeited in Test match cricket, and it was scrapped from the record books. Thomas, thank you so much. That is all I am covering. Handing back over to you.
Thank you so much, Abdullah. And thank you to all the candidates for staying tuned for a good 2 hours and 14 minutes so far. We have come to the end of today's presentation, but we are now going to be taking questions and answers. We are going to start with questions that have been posted in the chat box. I'm glad to see that T, I'm not sure where you're from. He or she knows the poster boys of our Cricket South Africa Introduction to Umpiring course poster. It is, of course, on the left of the poster was Bongani Jele, and on the right was Lubabalo Guma. Lubabalo Guma was awarded Cricket South Africa's Umpire of the Year award at CSA's Professional Awards last week, Thursday night, or 2 Thursday nights ago. Clifford Mhlanga would like the recording of this lecture to be shared to his email address. Clifford, if you have registered for the course, I will be emailing all candidates who have registered for the course the link to the recording. It will be on our YouTube channel, but you will also get that link on email. I will also post the link on our WhatsApp channel. And please, if you're not on the WhatsApp channel and if you are not yet registered for the course, I'm going to repost those messages that Abdullah posted. I've just reposted the WhatsApp channel link, and now I'm going to repost the Google form for which everybody needs to register who hasn't registered for the course. Okay, moving along in the chat box. A few of you had some technical issues. I hope those were sorted out. And then Nochundre Minar has a few questions. Nochundre, as I mentioned at the beginning of the lecture, please only post questions related to the content that we present. Why? Because if we take any and all questions related to everything cricket related, we would be here until Christmas. However, I see that not too many questions have been posted, so I will answer all of the questions in the chat box. But just for future reference, if we can please keep the questions in the chat box related to the content that is presented at each lecture. When we get to the end of the third lecture and you have had a question from anything cricket related that hasn't been answered in the presentation, then you can ask that question. So let's go through the questions that have been asked since we've got time before our closing time of 3:30. Does a no ball count as one of the 6 balls in the over? We will come to that in Law 17 next week, Tuesday, but the quick answer is no. A no ball is not a legal delivery, so does not count as one of the 6 balls that make up a delivery. How many fielders may be behind square on the leg side? A maximum of 2 fielders are allowed, excluding the wicket keeper, behind the popping crease on the leg side. That will be dealt with in Law 21, no ball, as well as Law 28, the fielder. Can a substitute fielder take a catch? Yes, non-chundre. If a fielder has become injured or ill, the umpires will allow a substitute to field in that injured or ill fielder's place, and the substitute fielder has the same powers as any other fielder, can even keep wicket with the consent of the umpires. But yes, a substitute fielder, if they have been allowed onto the field because they are substituting for an injured or an ill fielder, yes, they definitely can take a catch. They cannot bowl, they cannot bat, but they can field and take a catch. Tato, if I can ask you please to refrain from answering questions in the chat box. It just confuses everybody. Thank you for that. Zonke, what time will the session end? Our lectures are from 1 p.m. until 3:30 p.m. with a 10 to 15 minute halftime break. Can an umpire give a batter out without an appeal? We will go into detail in Law 31, which is appeals. No is the quick answer to that. A umpire should not give a batter out without an appeal. When should an appeal be made? An appeal can be made by any member of the fielding side from the moment the ball is delivered until the ball comes into play for the next delivery. So the ball comes into play for the next delivery when the bowler starts his or her run-up, or if they don't have a run-up, when the bowler lands on the back foot for their delivery stride. So the window period for an appeal is during the delivery and after the delivery until the start of the next delivery, an appeal can be made. Last question from Nonchundre. What are buys? When a bowler bowls the ball and a batter misses the ball completely, so it does not hit any part of the striker's bat or person, goes past the wicket keeper, and the batters decide to run, that will be called a bye. Signaled by putting your arm up above and your hand above the head with the palm facing the scorers. Ayanda Bandra says, great session. You are welcome, Ayanda. Tyler says, thank you for the links. Ayanda asks, what does Stumps Day mean? At the end of the day, Ayanda, in a multiple day match, like a 5-day test match, the umpires, when the last ball of the day has been bowled and the ball has become dead, the umpires will call over, time, and stumps. That simply means that they will pull the stumps out of the ground, and that will visually show everybody that the end of the day's play has been reached. No further play will take place on that day. Oluetu says, firstly, let me apologize for being late because of network problems. My question is based on the declaration part. Can the team batting first declare due to weather problems? So, Oluetu, a team can declare their innings closed. It needs to be the batting captain that sends a message out to the middle. If the batting captain is not batting at the time, they will wave for their players, their batters at the crease to stop batting and come back to the clubhouse. A batting captain can declare the innings of the batting side closed any time when the ball is dead during an innings. So they don't have to wait for a player to score 100 runs or the team to score 400 runs or a specific number of wickets to be down. As soon as the batting captain feels that they have enough runs on the board, then they can declare their innings closed. And yes, they can do that as well if they are off the field for a rain break. Then they can decide that because the rain is taking time out of the game, we need time to bowl team B out. So we've got enough runs. Let us declare while it's raining so that when it stops raining, the next team is going to be batting and we are going to be bowling. So yes, Oluetu, the batting team can declare due to weather, but can also declare just because they feel they have enough runs. Second question from Oluetu, what does forfeiting an innings mean? So Oluetu, Abdullah made the example of the test match where 2 innings were forfeited, one by South Africa and one by England. So in that match, and I will find it in the presentation and I will show you the scores and I will explain to you exactly when and how the forfeitures were done by each team. South Africa batted first in that particular match and they scored 254 runs, if I'm not mistaken. $248 runs in their first innings. Okay. And there were only 8 wickets down and they declared. That means Hansi Cronje, the captain of South Africa, he felt that they had enough runs on the board and it was raining. So that's why they declared. It rained South Africa batted on day 1, then it rained for day 2, day 3, and day 4. And South Africa batted a little bit on the morning of day 5, and then when they had 248 runs with 8 wickets down, Hansie Cronje said, guys, we've got enough runs, let's declare. So that was the end of South Africa's first innings. England's first innings, they did not bat. They forfeited their innings. Why? Because there was very little time left in the match. So the agreement between the two captains was that England would forfeit their first innings. So England wouldn't bat their first innings. South Africa would forfeit their second innings. So South Africa wouldn't bat for a second time, as they usually would in a test match. And then England's second innings, which was now their only innings that they were going to bat in the match, they needed to score 249 runs to win, and they ended up scoring 251 runs with 8 wickets down, and they won that match by 2 wickets. Okay, so the forfeited innings, a forfeited innings is an innings where a team does not come in to bat at all. Before that team is supposed to go into bat, the captain says, no, we don't want to bat for whatever reason. That is the definition of a forfeited innings. Okay. Ntokozo Mhlongo asks, what does penalty runs mean? Ntokozo, there are many reasons and many ways that a team can be awarded penalty runs. You can either, as an umpire, award 5 penalty runs to the fielding side by holding your opposite shoulder, as I'm doing, or you can award 5 penalty runs to the batting side by tapping the opposite shoulder like I'm doing. Throughout the laws, starting with Law 18, we will find out when and why penalty runs can be awarded to which sides. Okay, so we're not going to go through all the ways that penalty runs can be awarded today. We will gradually go through the law book and we will come across scenarios where 5 penalty runs are awarded to the fielding side or 5 penalty runs are awarded to the batting side. Okay. Zamangabi wants to know what considered as an over. An over is 6 legal deliveries bowled from one end of the stumps to the other end of the stumps. After the 6th delivery, legal delivery has been bowled and becomes dead, then the umpire at the bowler's end will call over. Okay, so 6 balls, 6 legal deliveries constitute 1 over. Okay, I hope that helps. Lindelwa says, when you see stump listed next to a cricket score, it simply means play has finished for the day. Normally, it would have stumps with an S at the end, Lindelwa. Thank you. Ladies and gents, it is now 29 minutes past 3. I would like to take the last minute of our lecture just to meet and greet everybody. I have activated your cameras and your microphones. If you are able to switch on your camera and your microphone, I would like you to all switch on your cameras and your microphones and wave, shout, scream, tell us where you're from. And also, if you can type into the chat box which hub you are at, we can see which hub has got the most attendees today for our first lecture. Anybody from Kalicha? Anybody from Eersterus? Anybody from Baseba? Anybody from Mossel Bay? Let's hear you. So I'm going to type, here we go, Actonville's in the house, Stellenbosch is in the house, City Bang is in the house. Victoria King's which is about 3 kilometers from me. They are in the house. Thank you very much. King Williams is in the house. Saints is in the house. King Williamstown is in the house. New Brighton. Elizabeth is in the house. City Big. Alice. Thank you so much for your attendance and your interaction. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great week further. See you next week. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye, Tom.
Sure, brother. Bye, guys.
Bye.